Tell Jen about the raven. What was the raven's name?
Crowbait?
Crowbait.
Oh, when we were kids, we would always go down to Leamington and Lindell because we had family living there. Granddad lived in Lindell, and Aunt Ruth and her family lived in Lindell, and then on my mother's side of the family, Aunt Clara and Grandma Essie, they all lived in Leamington. But we would always go down there and stay at Easter time. And there was some sand dunes nearby. It was called the Sinks because there was some lakes out there, and they called it the Sinks because during the summer the water would sink into the ground. But we would always go out there doing, go to the sand hills and play in the sand hills and roll our eggs down the hill and then run down after them and get them back up, and then they'd break and they'd have sand in them and we'd have to throw them away. And but my brother and some of the older boys, I was just a little bit young. I was just young enough that I couldn't go with the older boys. They went exploring. And way out in the middle of the sand dunes, there was this big old dead tree, and it had a nest up in there. And they climbed up in the tree, and there was a baby raven in the tree, just baby. And it was partially feathered out. It couldn't fly or anything, but they brought that back and we took it home and raised it. And we put it in a little cage with wire, and we fed it dog food. Canned dog food. We just, since it was a baby, you know, because it was easy to feed it. And first we used to stuff it down its throat. And then later on, you'd take a knife and you'd put it through the wire, and it'd eat it off with the wire. And it lived out there in the backyard, and it would crow and do stuff. But crows are famous for imitating other animals and stuff like that. And also there in the backyard, further closer to the road, we had a dog. His name was Shorty. He was tied up there. And every time anybody would walk down the sidewalk, he'd bark at him, bah, 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 bark at him. And then we realized one day, some people were walking down the road, and the dog was just laying there on the ground, not doing nothing. He's ignoring them. And the raven, Crowbait was his name, was barking at him. Sounded just like the dog, just barking away at the people walking by. And we had that for quite a few years, but then we took the crow to Salt Lake, to Liberty Park. Liberty Park has an aviary, and we gave the crow.
Was he a crow or a raven?
A raven. It was a big raven. So it was a raven. The crows are smaller than the ravens. But we gave it to them for their display. And but we had always called it Crowbait, and we'd go out there, hey, Crowbait! And then it got to the point where it'd say Crowbait back to us. It would say his name, Crowbait, Crowbait! And so we gave it to him. And then the following year, we went back to Liberty Park to their display that had all of the ravens and stuff in it. And we said, Crowbait, Crowbait! And this crow jumped up and started talking to us. Crowbait, Crowbait! So it was still there.
Raven?
The raven.
Yeah.
So that was the story of the
raven.
Of the raven.
I love it.
The raven named Crowbait. Tell Jen about the raven. What was the raven's name?
Crowbait?
Crowbait.
Oh, when